Carla Vasquez, and thanks for joining us today as we discuss local small business resources in Rochester, New York. Today, we'll be starting off our series by discussing startup resources for small business owners. If you've missed the introduction video for this series, you can check the comments, and I've put a link to that introduction video. This series was created to support small business owners and provide resources to help them launch and remain and become successful. Today, I'm so happy we're starting this series with Jen Byrne, award-winning librarian extraordinaire. Jen is the director of Business Insight Center at the Monroe County Library right in downtown Rochester. And we've worked together in the past, no question, unparalleled expertise. So happy to have you with us today, Jennifer. And congratulations on your award, your recent award from the Library Association, the Movers and Shakers 2025 award. Well,
thank you so much.
Well earned. So, Jennifer, share about what you do and how it's important for small business owners who, they may be thinking, okay, I had a business idea, I identified a need, I have a business idea to provide a product or service to meet that need. So now, what do I do?
Great. Sure. So at the Business Insight Center, we work with people at every stage of the process, whether you just have the germ of an idea for a business or you're a well-established business that may be looking for new customers. So for example, we can give you information on who your local competition is, licensing, any regulatory paperwork that you may need to complete. I'll let you know how the industry is performing overall. We can also look at, we have intellectual property services. We are the home of the Carlson Center for Intellectual Property. So we can do prior art searches at no cost for patents and trademarks. That's really important because we don't want you to spend money having an intellectual property attorney do that prior art search for you and just let you know that you have nothing, because nobody wants to spend a bunch of money and then here you've got nothing.
Right.
Also for trademarks, it's really important, even if you don't want to trademark your logo or whatever type of branding that you have, it's important to know that you're not violating someone else's trademark. So, for example, I can tell you, don't ever put a stemmed fruit in your logo because Apple will come after you for any type of stemmed fruit. Don't put a little lowercase I in front of anything because, again, Apple will come after you.
Any stemmed fruit. That's interesting.
Yes, they have sued people for pineapples. They have sued people for, and it doesn't really matter what the product is. They sued the Appleton County School District for having an apple in their logo. Wow. So we want to make sure that even if you don't want to secure, your branding, that you're not infringing on someone else's, because there are certain companies out there that are extremely litigious, and we don't want you to get a cease and desist letter from their attorneys. So, so basically, if you're just thinking about it, we can, give you sample business plans that match the type of business you want to start. If you're farther along in the process, we can help you identify trends, who's in that space as well. And, looking at what your financing options are, including venture capital. So we have access to PitchBook, which allows us to search on venture capital firms by their preferred types of sectors that they invest in, as well as how much money they typically invest. So that's a huge help. And I should say that all of these databases that we use are extremely expensive. And I just encourage you, if you see a report, you're Googling your information, and you'll say, oh, this report looks fantastic. And then it's going to ask you for $1,000. Don't do that. Reach out to us and make sure that it's not something that we already have or we have something comparable.
Yeah, and all these resources and information that they can get from the report, it's crucial to them to have this information as they build their business plan too. Because thinking about startup. as they build their business plan. Do you recommend any specific resources to help them get guidance with building their business plan?
Well, we can offer the Live Plan platform, which is an online platform that guides you through the business plan writing process. The other key piece is, demographics, like who is your target audience, right? Where do they live? So looking at census data, also looking at, say you want to open a coffee shop, what are all the other coffee shops within a 5-mile radius of the location you've selected? Is that the best place for it? And also in terms of competition, like looking at, market saturation. So for example, Rochester doesn't really need another gluten-free bakery, right? They're covered. So thinking about, what, type of business and what's going to be niche about yours, making sure that there's still like a market out there for you to sell to.
Right. And that's what's important about identifying a need, and then, building your business around that need. Rather, so many people will start a business because they like something, but there may not be a need in the general area for that particular business. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. I mean, if a product or service doesn't exist, it may be because you're a genius like Steve Jobs and none of us realized we needed like an iPod to have 4 million songs in our pocket. Or it could just be because really no one is interested in that.
Yeah.
So, so you have to kind of look at it, strategically. So.
Okay. Now, what are some pitfalls that you can help newer startup small businesses avoid? What have you seen that you can help give them information about avoiding certain pitfalls as they go through the startup process?
I think one of the main things is in terms of budgeting, looking at, and again, Live Plan can help you with this, is the startup costs. Not understanding how much your startup costs are going to be is huge. And people really lowball that amount typically. They're not thinking about, I need insurance, I need a phone, I need, the lease, things like that. So really looking at your expenses in its entirety. And again, looking at sample business plans can help with that because they'll have it broken down and it prompts people to think, oh, right, I do need to do X.
Yeah.
And also just not knowing who their target market is, or saying, typically we get a lot of people and I'm like, who's your target market? And they're like, everybody.
I'm open.
Everybody. Everybody's not your target market, right? No. That's not very targeted. So everybody is never a good answer. Never a good answer. So we really want them to think about that, what's different about their business or what's going to be different about it and who that would appeal to. Also, like realizing that they have to have skin in the game, right? If they want to get a loan, right, there's gonna have to be some sort of collateral involved. And also that there's no grants to start your business. That's a huge one. It doesn't matter who you are, what you look like, whatever, there is not a grant, right? And that's very tough for some people to understand. They're like, but I'm a veteran. And I'm like, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
So
yeah, to your point, Jennifer, if you're going to start a business, ideally, you're going to start saving so that you have some of the funds you need. You may get, grant programs may come about where they provide a small injection of income. But yeah, I was surprised too to learn that many people believe that there's a grant out there that just help you start your business. No.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. And I think also like looking at in terms of your legal structure, understand the difference between the different legal structures. And especially if you're going into business with a partner, like what is the exit plan? What if one person wants to get out of that business? How are they going to be paid out? What is that going to look like? So for some of those require an attorney, but making sure that people understand like the complexity of it,
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you mentioned those aspects because our next video, we're going to start conversations with the bail team professionals we'll
Oh,
start with the
okay.
bank for the next video. But to your point, that's one area where most business owners overlook when they're getting started. They need to build those relationships. They're very important. But those bail team professionals, the bank, the accountant,
Yes.
the insurance and legal professionals, and that's so important. Yeah,
Oh,
because
yeah.
I know they think they can't afford it, but again,
They can't not afford it.
you can't, you spend so much more money going back to fix things, and I try to align myself with professionals who have the same target market, startup businesses or small businesses,
Right.
basically small businesses. So they realize the financial constraints, they're not going to try to gouge, or at least the professionals I associate with, not going to try to gouge the business owner. So I think it's important to find the right professional that would be the best fit for each individual
Right.
business. But yes, certainly the bail team engagement is
Yeah.
crucial. Yeah.
Yeah. Accountants, especially, I mean, a lot of businesses fail because they just don't understand cash flow. So that's really critical. And also other things like we've worked with people that are like, well, I got this letter from the state about workers' compensation, and can I get out of this? And you're like, no, you can't get out of it because you have to have, again, these are regulations. So
Right.
you have to have workers' comp for your employees. And we do have attorneys that you can consult with at no cost, but really just doing the right thing from the get-go is very important.
Yeah, understanding those regulations. And that's where you come in. It's so crucial to find out, like you said, how that particular business is regulated, what you definitely have to do. Some businesses and some industries lend themselves more readily and may even require a specific business entity structure. So you just can't, don't go out willy-nilly just deciding you want a specific structure. It's best to get
Yeah.
advisement. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So Jennifer, at the end of each of our videos, we're going to have three quick tips that you would have for business owners based on your own experiences and expertise. So what three tips do you have for business owners today?
I would say know your competition, know your target market. We do have access to Mintel database, which is very consumer forward, looking at, a certain population, what do, 20-year-olds want to buy? Where do they buy it? Things like that. But I would say most importantly, and this is where a good industry survey from like IBIS World comes in helpful, is understanding, global issues that could impact your pricing and your supply chain. So, even if I'm just going to have this coffee shop here in Rochester, if there's like a hurricane somewhere and wipes out coffee crops, what's that going to do to the price of your coffee? It's going to increase it. And then what do you have to do? You have to change your pricing. Different things, just based on politics, because we know there's a lot of things going on right now that can affect pricing. And yeah, I would say just really read the paper, try to understand all of these things. You may think it doesn't apply to you, but in the end, if you're going to be paying a lot more for a component that you need to know that, ahead of time and factor that in. So,
so stay on top of those news stories and current events.
I
And
know it's painful, but yeah,
and those industry reports they can get from you, correct?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And they're really comprehensive. They're going to tell you, is it growing? Is it shrinking? What the market, the industry is worth overall. And also looks at the supply chain and, things that can, affect that and what companies have the most market share. So.
Yeah. And Jen, I believe, I don't know if you still work with the Urban League, because I know they provide services to help business owners develop their business plans.
Yep.
Are you still, you're still, okay.
Yeah. So they still have their entrepreneurship assistance programs, and my colleague Melissa Cobo goes and speaks with those that are participating in that, and they're absolutely a great resource, as well as SCORE, the Service Corps of Retired Executives. Fantastic resource, free mentoring. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, if you would like to connect with Jen and continue the conversation, Jen's contact information will be in the comments of this video. And also remember to check out the description box for this video, where I've listed resources, small business resources, and other resources that might be helpful for your small business. Thanks again to Jen for joining us today.
Thank
And
you.
remember to subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks for watching and see you next time.
Bye.